What is going on, everybody? It is your observant lineman here, Uche Nwaneri. Welcome to Lineman Life Live. We are talking today. And you know what? We got to have it's going to be a little bit of a long talk. We're going to have a long discussion about this. I think that it's good to talk about it. I think it's good to discuss and even debate the merits of these kind of discussions and where and see where we can come to, some kind of understanding. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. I'm not trying to really give any person any hell for however they feel about things. I think, everybody has their opinion, and your opinion, people can take it any way they want. You have every right to give your opinion, have every right to express how you feel. And I'm never going to be one to hold a grudge against somebody for having a different opinion than I do. A lot of times I just don't really care that much. I got my own opinion and I don't really care. I'm indifferent to, people who have their opinions and feel the way they feel, because if it doesn't affect me directly, then I'm not, necessarily going to be, so concerned with it. But the big story right now coming out of the sports world, or I would say a controversial story coming out of the sports world, Olympic hammer thrower Gwen Berry. Gwen Berry has got a lot of flack for her decision to turn away from the U.S. flag during the national anthem. This was for qualifiers for the Olympics, I believe. I think she's been to the Olympics twice already, and she's competing now to go for a third time. But just wanted to kind of preface this entire thing with a little bit of info in regards to just how I see things personally when it comes to discussing, these hot button topics. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to give you my perspective as an athlete, to give you my perspective as a person, to give you my perspective as somebody who generally tries to get along with pretty much everybody I'm around. Don't really care about people's past. Don't really care about, judging people. I just, care about the here and the now. So with all that being said, let's take a look at this article just to kind of go through the basics. And then from there, we'll get into a video that I want you guys to check out, coupled with two different perspectives on it. So this will be two videos with two different perspectives. And then I'll give you guys my perspective so so you have kind of a well-rounded look at the situation from many different angles, which I think is the best way to go about this, because there's not one way to define these kinds of things, because, nothing is just ever black or white. There are many shades of gray in the middle, and we are going to talk about those as well. So to get this thing started, let's take a look at the article from CBS Sports. And this is today, actually. It says here, hammer thrower and activist Gwen Berry has received fierce backlash after she appeared to turn her back to the American flag as the national anthem was being played at the U.S. Olympic trials over the weekend. Berry, who famously protested during the anthem in the 2019 Pan American Games, caught attention for turning her body towards the stands and away from the flag as the Star Spangled Banner was playing at the trials in Eugene, Oregon on Saturday. Toward the end of the song, she put a black shirt with the words "activist athlete" on her head. Her competitors, Deanne Price, who won first place, and Brooke Anderson, who won second place, put their hands over their hearts and faced the flag. Following her protest of the anthem, she drew ire from some conservative voices. Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw said Monday that Berry should be removed from the team. While sharing an article of the incident, Senator Ted Cruz tweeted, "Why does the left hate America?" Former Republican presidential candidate and ex-Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker also blasted Berry on Twitter. What is wrong with people? He wrote, "Growing up, everyone stood for the American flag. Didn't matter your politics, race, sex, income, religion. Everyone stood for the flag. It was one of those civic rituals that brought us together. It still should today. Barry responded to the criticism on social media saying people's comments shows they rally patriotism over basic morality. And the commercial statements and phony sentiments regarding Black lives were just a hoax. I never said I hated this country, she said in another tweet. People try to put words in my mouth, but they can't. That's why I speak out. I love my people. On Saturday, Barry said she felt the playing of the anthem after her award ceremony felt like it was a setup. They did it on purpose, Barry told the Associated Press. I was pissed, to be honest. She added that she found it no coincidence that she was in plain view during the anthem. They said they were going to play it before we walked out. Then they played it when we were out there, Barry said. But I don't really want to talk about the anthem because that's not important. The anthem doesn't speak for me. It never has. USA Track and Field spokeswoman Susan Hazard said in a statement that the anthem was scheduled to play at 5:20. We didn't wait until the athletes were on the podium for the hammer throw awards. The national anthem is played every day according to a previously published schedule, she said. Barry, who qualified for the Tokyo Olympics, said she will continue to advocate for racial justice in the U.S. My purpose and my mission is bigger than sports, she said. I'm here to represent those who died due to systemic racism. That's the important part. That's why I'm going. That's why I'm here today. Barry is no stranger to raising awareness to racial injustice. She and fencer Race Imboden were punished for protesting on the medal stand during the 2019 Pan American Games in Lima. They received a 12-month probation that was later overturned. Okay, so quick read to kind of give us, the complete picture, I guess, of the actual facts as they stand. These are the things that happened, and she's receiving backlash over it. Now, it is not just there, not just with the facts that are presented here in this article. That alone is not where this whole situation stops. As I read, there are people who had their criticisms of it, and let's take a look. Now, this first video here. This is a video from Fox News, Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw, let's hear what he has to say about this entire situation. He is a senator, I believe, but let's take a look.
Back on the flag during the anthem, and she also put a black T-shirt over her face that said, activist athlete.
We don't need any more activist athletes. She should be removed from the team. The entire point of the Olympic team is to represent the United States of America. That's the entire point. Okay, so it's one thing when these NBA players do it. Okay, fine, we'll just stop watching. But now the Olympic team, and it's multiple cases of this. They should be removed. That should be the bare minimum requirement, is that you believe in the country representing. But look.
Okay, so that's a snippet, 36 seconds. His response, to me, this is a little bit hypocritical for what he said. It is hypocritical because, one thing that we all, or a lot of us, can agree is that at times in this media-driven society that we live in, at times our reactions do not necessarily match with the actions that we are expressing our grievances over. And in today's world, what do we call that now? We call that, I guess, cancel culture is what we call that. And now, I am no advocate of cancel culture. I am an advocate of people being held accountable for the things they do. I am an advocate of people dealing with things in an adult manner. I'm an advocate of people being held to account if they break rules. Now, of course, there are rules against protesting on podiums in Olympic sports. So whatever those rules dictate should happen to her for what she did, I think that is what should happen. That should be whatever that ramification will end up being. It should be something that's handled in that way, I feel. But this here from Dan Crenshaw is the very thing that people who are conservatives generally, and there's also some who are liberals. This is an advocate for, this sounds to me like somebody who's advocating for cancel culture. You are advocating that she be canceled from her position because she's actually exercising her right to not pay attention to the American flag during the national anthem. Now, your opinion on that is whatever it may be. I don't think that was a smart thing to do at all. But at the end of the day, that's on her. She has to deal with the consequences of that. Now, what does that mean in regards to her future as an Olympic athlete? I don't think that anybody would say that we don't want an individual who's talented enough to not be able to be on the Olympic team because of their political leanings. Now, what she did was a political act, and we know her political leanings. So, knowing those things, are we now going to decide that she can't have a job that she's qualified for because of that? To me, that's hypocrisy. Because when they do it on one end, on the other side of that, I have seen people who I know personally who others have tried to cancel because their views were different than the views of others. And it's on the other side of the coin. I have friends who are conservatives. I have friends who are, staunch conservatives. And that, as far as our relationship as friends is concerned, doesn't mean shit to me. I don't care what their leanings are. We're friends. I mean, I don't care that you're a conservative. But there are people who, just because they're conservative and they have different views, they don't want them to have a platform at all, which I think is bullshit. That is cancel culture run amok as well. So from how I see things, in the most basic form, this is hypocrisy to say that she should be removed from the Olympics. That's hypocrisy, and that is just advocating for the concept of cancel culture. Now, there are going to be people who think she should be removed. That's an opinion again, but people with platforms who come out and voice that. On one hand, they voice that they're against people being canceled for what they believe in or what their opinion is. But here we have an example of someone being canceled because they believe differently than this person does. Now, I'll hear people say, well, we had soldiers, we have military personnel that have died for that flag, that have died for you to have a free country. Yes, that's very true. That is true. They have died for the ideals of America, the ideals of our representative democracy, republic. Those ideals are very much what allow her to do what she did. They died for her to be able to do that. So why should she feel ashamed for that? She is doing what they literally laid their lives down for her to have the right to talk shit about her own country, for her to have the right to have grievances about her own country, for her to have the right to protest those grievances about her own country. Does it mean she hates America? No, I wouldn't say that at all. I hate aspects of America. I do. There are aspects of America and American history that I hate. Do I hate America? No. I hate America for what it's done to its citizens throughout the course of its history. But I love America for what it represents for me and my family personally. My family came here as immigrants. My parents came here as immigrants. In 1973, they had nothing. They came here with nothing. They were here illegally at one point until Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to over 12 million illegal immigrants in the country. A Republican, a conservative, allowed my parents to find a path to citizenship in this country when they were here illegally. My parents had 4 kids. Those kids have grown up to be productive members of society. My parents have owned multiple businesses in the state of Texas that they've run for coming up now over 20 years. My parents worked their ass off, and they made it in the U.S. They are the American dream to me, and I love them for it. But America has done a lot of bad shit to its own people. America has done a lot of wrong shit to those they didn't even consider people. So you can't forget about those. You can't ignore that. You can't ignore that. And as an athlete, there is a platform that we have, and I'm speaking and saying we. Yes, I was a professional athlete. I'm not playing sports anymore, but I'm still in that fraternity. As professional athletes, so many times people say we should be role models. People say that we should be the example for these children to see what integrity, to see what hard work, to see what resilience and resolve gets you as a person who has ambitions to gain and build something for themselves in this life. Be a role model. Well, what is a role model? Is a role model a puppet? Is a role model someone who literally goes along with the herd and represents the way the herd represents? Or is a role model someone who shows their way, their individual strength as a person to do what's right, to do what they think is just, and to do it in a way that shows grace and that shows maturity, and to do it in a way that actually benefits not only you but the community in the grander scheme of things. I think that a role model does stand up and sometimes go against the grain. A role model does look at a situation, whether it be in their sports world, whether it be in their business world, whether it be in their, in a corporate setting or not. I think a role model looks at a situation and can analyze and process for themselves whether they think it's right or wrong. But a role model should not be someone who just does whatever they're told. Now, in the realm of work, in the realm of being compensated for a job that you're doing, there is an obligation there for you to do your job. But at the same time, and it's unique with sports because sports is a job, but at the same time, it is a passion, and it is sports in general has a slightly different set of rules because of that duplicity that is present with the athlete also representing somewhat of a hero figure to the general public. And that's where that whole role model concept comes from. To really go against that and to really have a vitriol for someone who brings their perceived grievance to their platform, while she may have broken rules and she should be punished if she did break rules, I think in the court of public opinion, to do that should be at the very least tolerated. At the very least tolerated because it is her right to protest. Now, there are consequences that come with it. There are consequences that come with every action. And for me, if we're going to get this whole cancel culture thing under control, then there has to be a consistent and a consistent push against it. Don't use it when it serves your purpose. That's what's happening here with this video clip. You can't use it when it serves your purpose and then hate it when it doesn't. That just means you're being a hypocrite. That just means that you don't really know what you want. You just want to go with what the wave is. You want to follow the trends. Following the trends doesn't distinct you as a leader. Doesn't give you that distinction. Following trends does not elevate your status when there is controversy that may question those trends or may rattle people's cages. I think that in this respect, with this clip from Dan Crenshaw, with everything we know, I think this is a terrible take. Talk shit about her if you want. I have no problem with it. But to ask that she be removed, to ask to cancel her, is just hypocrisy personified. So, moving on from this clip, let's talk about another clip here. Now, this is Bo of the Fifth Column. Bo, he's fairly liberal. He'll be on the other side of this, I'm sure. Have not seen this video, but I think it's, I think that we should listen to it so we can get a listen from both sides. So let's take a listen to this, and then we'll talk about it.
So today we're going to talk about Gwen Berry. If you don't know, person qualified for the U.S. Olympic team, national anthem, and she did something completely unprecedented, something no athlete has ever done before. She took that moment to draw attention to systemic issues in this country. Now, this didn't happen today, but many of our politicians have turned into 1990 shock jocks. So they held it for Monday so they could generate the most outrage, because that's what they're about now. They're about generating outrage, not about generating policy. I would like to clear a few things up. First and foremost, that flag, it's a piece of cloth. It is a piece of cloth. In and of itself, it means nothing. It's a symbol. It's a symbol of the ideals this country is supposed to represent. I
think that's a good point. I think I said that earlier. The flag itself is just a flag, but it represents ideals. It represents certain ideals that are actually written down on paper. Ideals that through and through are supposed to enrich every citizen. And through enriching every citizen, you create more patriotism for your country. Through people being able to validate the ideals that are set forth in our Constitution, in our Declaration of Independence, those ideals are what every citizen in America should hold the country, and the leaders of the country hold them to those at every point, at every chance. They should be held to those ideals. Those ideals are supposed to be the pillars of the entire concept of our democratic republic, of our society as a whole. So if you can't hold to those ideals, if those ideals are not being met, it is literally written in the Constitution that the people have the obligation. The people have the obligation to voice their grievances, to in a way rebel against the failing of those ideals. I think that's important. I think that there is a time and a place for people to, I guess, put themselves in the crosshairs. And history has shown us in the U.S. that one of the places where the time and the place is right to challenge that, to challenge the system itself, history has taught us that sports is one of the places that is the right time and the right place to do that. Let's finish this video and I'll go deeper into that.
The symbol of a representative democracy. If you have spent the last year attempting to undermine the ideal of a representative democracy in this country, you don't get to pretend to be mad about this. You've already shown us that you don't care about those ideals. To you, it's not a symbol of those ideals. It's a bumper sticker. It's something you can rally your base behind. That's it. Nobody cares about your fake outrage.
Okay. Just taking that little, those seconds of time that he talked about ideals. I do want to kind of take a second here to look at the chat before I kind of give my 2 cents on where he is right now in the video, because I know a lot of y'all are on here chatting, and it looks like you guys are being pretty, you guys are going back and forth about it. So let me take a look through this for a second, and then we'll continue, and I will give you guys, I'll try and respond to kind of the sentiment here in the chat. I want to just country. Okay, so let's see here. The one thing I feel has been lost with how society is now is we can't have a discussion without people being offended. Discussion and debate is a great thing. True. May not like what she said, what she did, but she has the right afforded via freedom of speech. The flag brings us together, but it also calls for dissent for whatever your issues are with government. I think that's a great point. Because, and I believe this quote is attributed to Benjamin Franklin, but I'm not 100% sure that he is the one who actually said it. But the quote is, dissent is the truest form of patriotism. Dissent, knowing when your country isn't operating the way that it is meant to operate, knowing that when people you work with, knowing with people who are teammates, knowing when they're not operating right, and knowing when they're hurting the team, and calling them out is being a good teammate. Calling out somebody who's fucking up is being a good teammate. Calling out politicians who lie is being a patriot. Calling out government issues that are not being handled in a fair and meaningful way, that is patriotism. Being a patriot means, in my opinion, that even with my love for being an American, if America is fucking up, then it needs to be called out on it. It needs to change something. It needs to adjust and adapt to a new landscape that we live in. The Constitution is called a living, breathing document, and that is is basically meaning that it's a document. It is a set of laws and rights that is meant to be upgraded and modernized as time allows, as history unfolds. So, when the country is not operating in the efficient manner that it is, or the ideals, or holding itself strictly to the ideals that it has set forth from its induction, then there needs to be dissent. There needs to be. Now, again, I don't agree with Gwen Berry's immediate action or reaction to what she perceived as, quote unquote, a setup. I don't think that she was being set up. I think that is a narrow-sighted way to perceive it. But I also believe that if she was going to protest the national anthem, then she should have just done that. And, you know, you can face the flag, or you can face the flag and hold your shirt up. You can face the flag and put something over your head. But even at that, if she doesn't face the flag, I mean, you know, it's her right. She can do that. You know, I wouldn't have done that personally, but it's her right. She can do that. So, going on from there, let's take a look at some more here. It says, if you want to represent a country yet don't want to respect it, you don't deserve to be there. I don't know. I don't know about that one, because let's talk about Vietnam for a second. There were a lot of people who died in Vietnam who did not want to be there at all. There are a lot of people who died in Vietnam who did not agree with the reason for being there, who actually were pretty vocal about their dissent for being there. Now, there are, again, a lot of people who ended up going to Vietnam were regular everyday Joes, but were more the bigger population of people who went to Vietnam were people who were of lower class as far as financial status goes in this country. I think that we all know that. People who were part of families that had a lot of money and had a lot of power, if their kid ended up having to go to Vietnam, which that rarely happened, they were not ever in harm's way in regards to actually being involved in combat. A lot of them were in non-combat positions. So the people who actually go and die for our rights and die representing our country, all of them don't necessarily believe that what the country is doing is right. But it's something that they have volunteered and signed a contract to be a part of. So they'll honor it. Now, should we not allow those people to join? Should we not allow those people to be part of society if they don't agree with what the country is doing? No, it's their right to not agree. It's their right to not agree. But it doesn't, there is no specific criteria for what being patriotic is. When you talk about things like standing for the national anthem, we talk about things like, players taking knees during the national anthem. That does not mean that these people are not patriotic. That means that they have a grievance that they want to express at a moment that they know everyone will be able to see them. That is effective protesting. That is actually the most effective kind of protesting, is to protest when everyone's eyes are on you so that they know and they can hear and they can listen. And they can try to understand what is the grievance. They could try to understand where is this coming from, and can we find a way to satiate or satisfy that grievance to the best that we can as fellow citizens, as leaders in politics, as people, as humans. I think that these are all things that we can all agree should happen, but they don't always end up that way. Let's look at some more stuff here. Yes, speech is protected. See it. You can see it, but an Olympian is not right. That's my point. You at least have to respect the country and what represents. But again, not standing for the flag, for the national anthem is disrespecting the country. I never thought that was, I never looked at it like that. That's all I can say. I never thought that people kneeling in protest was disrespect to the country. If they're kneeling during the national anthem. If you're protesting during the national anthem, does that mean that you are disrespecting the country? You have a problem with something in the country. It doesn't mean you disrespect or you hate your country. That is propaganda to me. Propaganda will tell you that someone who doesn't stand with their hand over their heart hates America. Well, these people hate America? I think that's a fair question. There's an American flag right there. He's holding it. There's an American flag right there. He's using it as a weapon. Does he hate America? If you ask him if he hates America, will he tell you he hates America? He is absolutely disrespecting the flag. The symbol of America is being utterly disrespected. Does he hate America? Do all of these people hate America? They are attacking America quite literally right now. This is not a protest. This is an attack. They are attacking people. That's a police officer right there. That's an American flag. That's the same guy with the American flag. He's used it as a weapon already, as well as the crutches. There's a middle finger. Does he love America? Does he hate America? Which one is it? You see, this to me is where I personally find direct disagreement with how some want to perceive what is loving America and what is hating America. If you cannot look at this picture and say to yourself that this person hates America, then why, oh why, are we looking at Gwen Berry and thinking, some, not all, and thinking that she hates America? She did not go grab a flag and attack a police officer with it. She did not spray bear mace. You know, she didn't do anything violent. She simply did nothing. She simply did nothing. So again, how does she hate America, but these people do not? I'm sure if you asked all of these people here, do you hate America? I'm sure they will say they love America. I'm sure they will say they are red-blooded Americans. Maybe this was them caught in a moment of emotion that they just kind of lost it. You know, energy is contagious. When the crowd, when the mob activates itself to be violent, generally people who are not violent will become violent. That mania passes around to everyone in that area. So this here, with red, white, and blue star-spangled flags wrapped around their bodies, in their hands like a spear, this is loving America? But this is hating America. To me, that's not logical. That's not logical. But to say, on top of that, that she shouldn't have a job because of that is cancel culture. So you have someone here who, I'm not going to guess what his position was on the pictures I just showed you. I'm not going to guess because I don't know. I'm not going to guess at it. But I would say that if he believes that Gwen Berry should be removed from the United States Olympic team because she did nothing when the national anthem raised, she turned away from it, then he should also believe that anyone who was involved in this in any way, whether it be directly, whether it be indirectly, whether it be through social media, whether it be through, any form of media, if he believes she should be removed, then he should believe that all of these people should be in prison, period. All of them. That would be consistency to me, because they're breaking the law. She is actually exercising a right given to her, a right that she is born with in this country. That's just how I see it. That's how I see it. And I'm trying to see it from the most straight line arrow that I can. I'm trying to see it and give you guys a perspective that doesn't really take the side of one or the other, but to be consistent. If you're going to say someone hates America for doing nothing, then you should apply the equal logic, if not more stringent logic, to someone or someones who actually attack America. Because this was an attack on America. That's what this was. Whether you want to believe it or not. It wasn't a protest. It wasn't a riot. It was an attack on America. So do they hate America? That's why I tell you guys, this is not black and white. There are shades of gray everywhere. And I'm sure everyone here, if you ask them that question, they'll say they love America. So which one's it going to be? What does America really want? You think to yourself, what do you really believe in? What do you really, truly believe in? Not what you've heard and what you agree with. What do you truly believe in? Because the people who founded this country, they fought against another country that actually had every right and every logical, ownership over the land that they were living on, that they fought a war to get for themselves, to take that land for themselves. We fought a revolution because we didn't want to be taxed. We had our grievances and our grievances and our grievances, and we started our own. And we said that if there is a individual in this country who does not believe that that the ideals we are setting for ourselves and the bar we're setting for ourselves is not being reached, then they have to make their voice heard. Now, you skip forward 240 years, your voice can be heard in any place on this planet because of technology. So, again, we come back to, if you think that she hates America, then there are many other ways that you can look at other situations where you may not see it the same as how you look at what she's done, and you need to say that those people must hate America too. But let's continue on. There's a couple minutes left in this. Then from there, we'll move into a couple other things that I think you guys would like to hear me talk about. So let's go.
This is doubly true if you are a politician in the United States, if you are somebody that has the ability to influence policy, if you are a member of Congress. You don't get to pretend to be mad about this because this isn't new. These protests, these events have been going on for years. You're their audience. If you're a politician in the United States, they are aimed at you. They are trying to get your attention so you will address some of the systemic issues in this country. And you have done nothing. You don't get to complain about it. You don't get to pretend to be upset because you have done nothing. Instead of realizing that there are issues in this country that need to be addressed by you, you would rather go on some pundit show and stoke outrage. Rather than unite the country, you would divide it because it's better for you, because you don't care about the country, you care about your own political career. Now, I had somebody ask me point blank.
All politicians are liars. All politicians are manipulators. All politicians are trying to replicate what they see as successful for their audiences. And look, again, I don't want to just run on one side of this. I want to talk about both sides because I believe that both sides are strictly run with those rules in mind. You throw meat to your base. You give them the things that make them active, the things that rile them up. And that goes on both sides. So there is no one right side here. Both sides are wrong to a certain extent because they take advantage of manipulating the feelings of their audience. But it's up to the audience. It's up to the people to be able to see through that and get down to the merits of an actual argument, not allow yourself to be actually triggered and manipulated into being angry over something that at the end of the day, in a normal circumstance, without this environment of outrage around you, may not have been as big a deal as you feel like it is right now. How many of us are going to watch hammer throws during the Olympics? How many of you have ever watched the hammer throw competition during the Olympics? If the environment that we live in today isn't what it is, you would probably never hear about that. Or if you hear about that, instead of it being an issue where people take one side or the other, maybe we ask a simple question that really can get to the root of most issues in a heartbeat. Why? Why did she do that? Why does she feel that way? Why can take you into many different roads that can lead to a solution, that can lead to resolution, that can lead to a reconciling of a situation. That simple question, why? I think that is something that people need to think of that. And I mean, and maybe I'm being naive here. I feel like if people thought about why more than they thought about, instantly reacting based on what they like to see and like to hear, if people just ask questions why when they see things that are kind of out of the norm, I think that there could be a lot calmer conversations that people can have, a lot calmer discourse in the greater, population. Because why opens the book for you to start understanding someone else's perspective. Just ask them why. Why do you feel that way? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? That allows somebody to understand, one, that you are giving your attention and your respect to them to listen to their full-blown perspective, their full-blown story that they want to give you about why they feel that way. And then from there, you take steps towards resolution, towards reconciliation. I think that is something that we're missing in a big way in society. I think that's something we're missing in a big way. All right, this is almost up.
If I think the tactics, the way she did it, if I liked that, or if I liked kneeling, I think it's better to kneel. Personally, I think it makes better imagery. But I would point out a number of things about that. One is that, well, she didn't ask me. She worked very hard over the course of her life, and I would imagine that she knew what she was going to do when put in this situation. I'm not going to second guess that, really. I would also suggest that maybe she doesn't want to get on the ground around a bunch of people who might become angry at her exercising the principles enshrined in the Constitution. They might decide to beat her with the flag. If you said nothing about a person being beaten with the flag at the Capitol, if you've attempted to downplay that event, you're going to pardon me for not taking your advice on flag etiquette. Because again, you don't actually care. It's not something that bothers you. It's just something you can use to make Americans angry, to make them afraid. Rather than addressing the issues, you are making them worse. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
All right, so that was Bo of the fifth column. Again, I really do believe that Gwen Berry and what she did, I would, I wouldn't have done it the way she did it. But her doing it shouldn't make people angry so much as it should make people wonder why. That means having a conversation. That means having a conversation with Gwen Berry. Why? That's something that people should ask. You don't see people asking that enough. Now, when people talk about disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the country and disrespecting our troops because of kneeling and protests during the national anthem, I rarely hear people bring up this situation. I rarely hear people bring this situation up because this situation is one of the first that I ever saw in my life in regards to protesting for something in sports. Tommy Smith and John Carlos. Everyone's seen this picture. Everyone knows what this picture is. Everyone knows what this picture is. These are two Olympic champions with black gloves on, with their fist high in the air. This is these guys here, these two men in this day and age are revered as heroes, are revered as role models. At the time when they did this, they were called un-American. At the time when they did this, people said they hate this country. How is this any different than what we saw from Gwen Berry, from Colin Kaepernick, from any number of athletes in different sports around the world who, when the national anthem of America was played, they protested it. People who weren't even from our country protested it. Where is the people who say that these guys hate America, right? They have to hate America because they did this. This was a symbol. This was a symbol for people, a symbol for justice, a symbol against injustice. It was. And that's how we look at it today. But back then, much like we're seeing right now for people who do it in real time, they're called un-American. They're told they're labeled as people who hate America. These guys had every reason in the book to say that they hate America. They didn't. But they did hate things that America was doing. And they protested those things that America was doing on the stage where they knew everyone worldwide would see it. We have these guys in history books now. Everyone in this country who is 18 years old and above has seen this picture. So why are they in history books? But she is someone who people want her to not even be able to be in the Olympics because of her protesting during the national anthem. It's another question. Why? Why? I'd love for you guys to respond in the chat. Why are these guys heroes, but Gwen Berry hates America? This is logical. This is logical, a logical question. Because you know what this is about, and you know what this is about. So, I'm looking at the chat. I'd love to just see what people are saying. And again, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm just asking for a simple response. This is a discussion. This is us talking about it in a civil manner, in a civil, kind of reckoning for it. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me kind of make sure. Okay, let me see here. Charles, come on, man, Bree. People who complain about the situation don't even follow the proper code of conduct for the U.S. flag. Yeah, there you go. That's another thing that I think is worth mentioning as well. If you drape yourself in the American flag, you're disrespecting the flag, and that is literally written in a book, a U.S. code book. If you wear the flag, you're disrespecting America. If you wear a hat that has the American flag on it, you're disrespecting the flag. If you wear a swimming suit that is fashioned after the American flag, you're disrespecting the flag. If you have your flag on anything other than a flagpole, when it is off the ground, or it's never supposed to touch the ground, but as it is as it flip flaps in the air, if it's not on a flagpole, you're disrespecting America. There's a lot of different things that people do every day and think that they are being patriots by it, and they're literally, in every sense of the American essence and how we have written and described it to be proper, they are literally disrespecting the symbol of America. Got to consider those things. Got to consider those things. Okay, so Mike Beach says here that bothered me. Don't know or care how she feels. Just like you had to be a professional in the NFL, she has a certain expectation to follow in her job description. I agree. I agree. That's why, for me, if there are consequences that must be, given to her for what she did, based on the rules as they've been set out, and based on the etiquette as it has been set out by the Olympic, whatever Olympic committees that there are that have oversight over the rules themselves and how players or how athletes will act when they're not in direct competition, then yes, she should be punished however they see fit and whatever. I won't say however they see fit. I will say she should be punished based on what the offense itself dictates. It doesn't, which I would assume that protesting during the playing of the national anthem, I would assume that would not be considered a major violation. I think that's more in the minor violation. That would be a misdemeanor as opposed to cheating or doping, which would be a felony. That would be that's where I think those two things kind of sit, because remember, it's not illegal to burn an American flag. It's actually one of the most American things you can do, because you're literally expressing your First Amendment right. People are probably not going to like that. I've never burned a flag, and I kind of, depending on the situation, it would have to be an extreme situation for me to be in favor of burning an American flag. It would have to be an extreme situation where I myself feel wholly offended and have a pure grievance of my own for me to ever go that far. But there have been times where American citizens have burned flags. That is their right. But I do think that there is a professional standard that Gwen Berry has to be held to. And I think that professional standard should see consequences for what she did. I have no problem at all for that. Now, the consequences must be reasonable. They cannot be excessive. Removing her from the Olympics would absolutely be excessive. That's just my view. All right, let's see here. What else we got here? Let's see. The kneeling at least shows a respect while still sending a message. No matter how much I disagree with the premise of the message. I think that I can agree with that. Kneeling is very respectful in my opinion. Kneeling is one of the most respectful gestures you can actually use to show someone that you are paying attention to them. At the end of every football practice, at the end of a lot of sports practices in general, especially ones that take place like on a field, when the practice is up, when the practice finishes, the players come together at the coach or at the leader of the practice or whatever it may be, generally the coach. They come together. Coach usually says, "Hey guys, take a knee." You take a knee and you're looking up. So that coach is looking down as he's talking and knows that everyone is looking at him. He has your attention. That is respect that's respect on a high level. To kneel is to respect someone in that regard to me. So I can agree with you there. Let's see. If you don't like the USA, then why do you want to represent the country? She has the right to free speech, but what is the consequence? Okay, Philip Hawkins. Philip, I understand that point. If you don't like the USA, then why do you want to represent the country? He has the right to free speech, but what is the consequence? Well, again, and I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the stream, but this is a quote from Gwen Berry. She says, "I never said I hated this country. People try to put words in my mouth, but they can't. That's why I speak out. I love my people." I don't think that she hates America. like I said, I don't think anybody who has grown up here hates America. I don't think these men hated America. They just wanted shit to be done right, the right way. And and these are things that are more on these set more on a moral level, especially for these guys here, a moral level rather than an absolute about whether or not they love their country. I don't think that Gwen Berry hates America. I truly don't. I think that there is there is an attempt by some to make to make their protests as shocking as possible to get the attention that they're seeking for what they're protesting for. But I would say that is showing, that is part of patriotism, protesting. It is part of that. So we can't be so fast to label somebody who does something like this as someone who hates their country. Because I can tell you this, and I think that this is as simple as it gets, in my opinion. If they truly, truly, in their heart of hearts, hated America, they wouldn't have been here. They wouldn't even have tried. They wouldn't even have tried. I think that for a lot of black people in America, there is I guess we could call it, there is a love-hate relationship with America for a number of reasons that, are too far for, I'm not going there. I'm not going all the way into all that stuff. But for a lot of, okay. And again, I'm not trying to change anybody's minds. I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit more perspective and a little bit more understanding, at least from my perspective, because I feel like I'm in a little bit of a unique position. I'm a Nigerian. I'm of Nigerian heritage. My parents are directly from Africa. Our entire bloodline as a family is directly from Nigeria. So, growing up in America, being born in Dallas, Texas, being born and raised here, and also having been in Nigeria and been in Africa, I feel like I have an understanding of what Black America feels, because I live in the United States. I live as a Black American at first glance from everyone. I'm an African American, true. My heritage is directly of Africa that can be traced because my parents are directly African. But I feel like I have a little bit of a unique view on this because I've lived both sides of those tracks. As a Nigerian, as a son of immigrants, raised in a Nigerian household, the youngest of four, as a Nigerian kid, a Nigerian American in America, which again, first glance, people will think that I am just black. Like I'm just black, but I'm actually not black. Black people are not African. They're not. Black people are black, are Black Americans. I've lived in those shoes my entire life. It's when people get to know me that they know that I'm not black in Black American sense. I'm actually an African American, a true African American, a Nigerian American. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I've lived in those shoes, so I can understand where there is that love-hate with the country in a lot of black people's hearts. They do love America. I mean, look, man, when 9/11 happened, Black Americans weren't cheering. Black Americans were still dealing with some of the issues that they're protesting about now today, but they weren't cheering. Hell, they were signing up to go to war just like whites, just like Asians, just like every other American in this country. Shedding their blood, giving their lives for their country. Athletes proudly wore their American flags on the back of their helmets, on their jerseys. They stood, moments of silence, galvanized within the country themselves to show their own love for this country. So it's not, I don't think that I think that is that's a false flag when you hear somebody say that because you're protesting, you don't love America. That's not true. That's not true. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. So we got to keep those things in our minds. You have to be able to see the full scope. And I'm going to go through a couple more of these, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. I've been on this for a minute, but I think we got there's something else we definitely need to talk about here, which is really, I mean, I guess they're all going to kind of be going along the same lines. Says here, Uche, motivation matters a lot. However, just like back then, the raised fist is a Marxist symbol. Having said that, there's a lot of background manipulation in these movements with bad actors. Okay. I don't understand what Marxist has to do with it. If I remember correctly, Karl Marx, at least from what I've read about Karl Marx, because I have read a little bit about Karl Marx, Karl Marx was pretty heavily supportive of the United States as a country. If I'm not mistaken, he actually had a ton of correspondence with Abraham Lincoln. He loved Abraham Lincoln. He was a huge Abraham Lincoln fan. So Marxist, I don't know what that really, what's relevant, how that's relevant to protesting, a grievance, protesting against things like police brutality, against things like, the systemic issues that do affect others in our society more than it probably should. Marxism has nothing to do with that. And the man himself was a fan of America. So if you're a fan of America, you're a fan of capitalism, you're a fan of the free market, you're a fan of quote unquote freedom. I'm not really sure where he comes into play in regards to that, because in what I've read about him, it didn't seem like he was anti-American or anti-capitalism very much at all. Okay. Influence neutral people into making certain choices without full context. Well, I mean, explain to me full context more, so I understand where you're coming from with that. Also, have personally burned several flags, retiring old flags in a quiet, private ceremony. But you're entirely right. You can do things I don't like as long as you don't hurt anyone. That's true. And I think that's really where, that's where my principles pretty much stand. My principles across the board are, as long as it doesn't affect my ability to live my life and live my day-to-day, have my day-to-day life lived how I want to. That's pretty much my motto: live and let live. If you are, a trans person in this country, I do believe you should have all the same rights as anyone else. Because you're trans, you're not an American anymore? Like, no. Now, are there nuances in that can be discussed? And I feel like there can be a middle ground found for people who have concerns about things. I think, yes, I think it will take an openness to be able to find that middle ground. You can't find middle ground without openness and willingness to find the middle ground. If you're just going to stick on one side of an argument, then there's no point in having a discussion because you're not willing to be open to a different idea or just open to a discussion that can help find a solution to a problem. I think that's important. Okay. I realized how good we have it here in the U.S. after visiting my parents' home country. Can understand that fully. I mean, like I said, I've been in Nigeria. I've been in Nigeria for extended periods of time. You know, I loved Nigeria. I'm not going to lie. I loved when I was there. It took me some time, took me an adjustment period to learn it and to start to love it, but I loved being there. And part of my love for being there was being able to see where I come from, where my bloodline comes from, where my parents and our heritage comes from. And we do have it very good in the U.S. We do. We absolutely have it very good. We have it better than most in the U.S. in a lot of different ways. But that doesn't mean that we're actually that good. It just means we have it better than other shit, which, hey, you know what I mean? The one-eyed man is the king of the blind. So having one eye doesn't mean you got great vision, but if everybody else don't have one eye, then you got good enough vision to be the top dog. That is America. America is the one-eyed man. We have a lot that we can get better at. But when you compare us, we better. That's the truth. That's the fact of the matter. I don't think anybody will disagree with that. We are better. We still have problems, and we still have big problems. We still have problems in this country that can derail how good we are. And a lot of those problems center around the inability to be open with one another and to unify because we want to understand each other rather than we want to dominate with our point of view. Dominating with our point of view that's authoritarian. I mean, honestly, because that means that only one view gets to see the light. Only one perspective gets to be the law of the land. But there has to be a chance for both to have their time in the light. And that means that both have to work together at some point. And I mean, it's hard to say that, and I know it's even harder to imagine it, but there was a time when that was respected amongst Americans. There was a time when that was respected amongst Americans. It's not so much anymore. Really not so much anymore. Lenin/Stalin Marxism to clarify. Okay, well, Lenin/Stalin Marxism, Mike Beats. Those things do not have jack shit to do with the American policies when it comes to dealing with issues of our society. When you're talking about racism, when you're talking about social justice, whatever you may see it as, Lenin and Stalin Marxism is in no way a threat to the United States in any way, shape, or form. There's not. It's not. It's just not. That is something that I would never. There will never be a time in this country where we will have switched from a democratic republic to a Marxist state. Like, be real. Let's be real for a second. I mean, the ideals of like BLM in the movement itself are slanted towards finding more equal opportunity for everyone. But the people who created BLM, they were Marxists. They were people who studied Karl Marx. There are people who subscribe to some of his ideals. Now, again, a great question if you want to find out where you really should stand on that individual and how they see things is to ask them why. Why do you subscribe to certain elements of Marxism? What is the reasoning behind that? That expresses that you have an intent to understand them rather than to label them. I mean, that's what it is. When somebody goes into a police station and they're being, and the police, have evidence built up against this person for a crime they committed, a lot of times the interrogation is just to find out why, the motive. Why? What was your intent? Why did you want to do this? What was going through your mind? They're trying to create a profile to understand exactly why they did it and to show that there is proof of what the answer to that why is. The why is really where you find all the details. So you gotta be cognizant of that. Basically, the hyperviolent side of Marxist ideology is to use the raised fist, but a lot of people cherry pick Marxism. Yes, well, I understand that. But raising the fist, that symbol of raising the fist is no longer means that. It no longer means that. That is a unifying gesture. That's a gesture of solidarity. That's what that was changed to when the Black Panthers of the 1960s, who were founded by Huey P. Newton and what's his name? Damn, why do I always Frank something? I forget his last name. Those guys use that symbol as a symbol of solidarity, that we have your back. I'm with you. We'll look out for you. That is what that symbol has been changed to. That raised fist does not mean anything as far as Marxism is concerned anymore. That's a symbol that has transcended what that meaning used to be, in my opinion. Okay. All right, so I'm going to try and get this next. Oh, this next one is a doozy too, so hold on to your ass. I think that we dove deep enough into the Gwen Berry situation. I think you guys understand where I'm coming from. I'm not trying to tell you that what you feel is wrong. I'm simply discussing the whys of a lot of things, the whys in how people come to feel the way that they feel. Just like, a lot of people want to know why what happened on January 6th happened. Why? I think that we should know why. I think that it would help us as a country to actually heal very nasty wounds that are wide open right now if we could understand more of the why amongst our citizens. And, time will tell if we ever get that opportunity. But, there's no absolute when it comes to what makes you a patriot in this country, what makes you patriotic for this country. There is no absolute in that when it comes to protesting. There's just not. I never believed that, because one can always, I was a Jacksonville Jaguar. I loved being a Jacksonville Jaguar. I had a chance to leave, and I didn't. I stayed. We didn't win. We didn't do a lot of shit. We didn't win a lot. We didn't do a lot of shit right, but I loved the place still. I think that's pretty much the same kind of sentiment. Like, I don't think people who are protesting hate America. I think people who are protesting love America, but want America to make better decisions. And I think that's fair. That's fair enough in my opinion. Now, moving on. I thought this one kind of took me by surprise when I saw it. I didn't really expect to hear this kind of thing come out. But the Dan Patrick Show, these guys had and Scottie Pippen on their show, and this has become a massive issue in the basketball world because of the names that are being talked about in it. But Dan Patrick spoke with Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen had some pretty interesting things to say, folks. That he did. Let's take a gander, shall we?
Help me understand the GQ article where you talked about the 1994 playoff game when you refused to go back in the game and Phil set up the play for Tony Kukoc.
Well, I mean, it's not much to be said if you go back and look at when Scottie Pippen entered the Bulls and when Tony Kukoc entered the Bulls and who deserved the last shot of the game.
No, I understand that, Scottie. I'm just going by what you said. You said you need to read between the fine lines, and then you go on to say it was a racial move to give him, Tony Kukoc, a rise. So,
well, I mean, if you knew that Scottie Pippen had been with the Bulls from 87, battled through the Pistons, and every other team that we had to get to those 3 championships, wouldn't you give Scottie Pippen one opportunity to get a last-second shot without Michael Jordan? Like, 1 year without Michael Jordan. Can I get one shot? Like, I'm doing all the dirty work.
But all of that I understand from the basketball standpoint. But when you say a racial move,
well, why would Tony, who was a rookie, get the last-second shot and you put me out of bounds? That's what I mean, racial. Like, that was Scottie Pippen's team.
But
Scottie
Phil
Pippen
then
was on pace to be an MVP that year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why would you put him in a position not to be successful? Why wouldn't you put him in a position to succeed? Michael Jordan is not there. So who's next in line for you?
But have you talked to Phil about this? Because
Okay. I hadn't watched this whole video. I watched a little bit of it. Then I decided, you know what? Let me talk about this on the show today. And, man. Look. I don't have a problem with Scottie Pippen being mad that he didn't get the ball in a clutch situation, and it wasn't even designed for him to get the ball. It was actually designed for a rookie to get the ball instead of him, and that rookie was Tony Kukoc. Tony Kukoc was a great player with the Bulls. He was. I think he's Croatian or something like that, but I need to hear more. I need to hear more because that's a big thing to say. That is actually a big thing to come out and say. So you need to be fucking sure that you can back up everything that you're saying, and there are people who can corroborate it. I'm not comfortable with where this is going right now, but let's continue.
Saying a racial move, then you're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
God damn! He said, I don't got a problem with that. Okay, look, let's hear some more because he's being short. He is being short. So I want to hear more. He needs to elaborate in great detail. He needs to elaborate in great detail. Now, something that we also should be aware of is that, well, you know what? Let's hear some more first. I don't know enough yet. Let me hear some more.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe?
This motherfucker said, yeah, he is. All right. So he done stepped over that line. He said it. Now let's figure out what the fuck is going on here.
You're calling Phil a racist.
I don't got a problem with that.
Do you think Phil was or is?
Oh, yeah. I mean, do you remember Phil Jackson left the Lakers, wrote a book on Kobe Bryant, and then came back and coached him? I mean, who would do that? You name someone in professional sports that would do that, you know? I think he tried to expose Kobe in a way that he shouldn't have. You're the head coach, and you're the guy that sits in the locker room and tells the players, this is a circle, and everything stays within the circle because that's what team is about. But you as the head coach, open it up, and now you go out and you try to belittle, at that time, probably one of the greatest players in the game.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your way of putting it out, and I have my way.
Shit, I got to do some research. Okay, chat, do me a favor. If you can, find me what the, okay, so he says here that Phil Jackson, in a book called Kobe Bryant Disloyal. If somebody can pull up a little information that gives a little bit more context to that, then I would love it, and I would appreciate you very much. I want to get through the rest of this before I kind of go into what into my full-blown comments on it. But just from hearing, in full disclosure, I met Scottie Pippen. He came to my lounge in Atlanta. This was a couple years ago. He came to my lounge. Cool dude. Came with his homeboys. They had a couple drinks, hung out. He seemed pretty cool. Didn't have, I took a picture with him. That was that. He stayed for like maybe an hour and a half. Then he was gone. So I didn't. This is totally different, a different look. But he directly comes out and says that he believes that Phil Jackson is racist. That is that's pretty serious. That's a pretty serious thing to say. That's a very serious thing to say. And he is saying right now, we're still not through this, he is saying that he considers him racist because of what he put in his book about Kobe Bryant. Now, I'm sure that can't be the only thing. Because if it is, then I cannot in any way, shape, or form, be empathetic to what he is saying. If that is the only thing that he is using as his reason as to why. Now, when he did talk about that circle that a team has as a group of men who have come together to accomplish a goal bigger than themselves, when he says that is a circle, that is absolutely true. And on top of that, much like with every team sport, what happens in the locker room and the issues that come up in the locker room are solved and handled within the locker room, and they're not talked about. And you are not using the things that you know about in the locker room for your own personal gain if it means that you are slandering the name of another teammate. If it means that you are putting another teammate out there or another individual, which it includes the coach himself, if you're putting him out there and you are doing so in a way that is purely negative without that person having the ability to respond to it, then you have violated majorly, and you probably will have no trust or respect from anyone who is associated with you as a player. They will have no respect for you. None. You can't call, and until there is a comeuppance or a reckoning and an apology and an actual owning up to that violation, you're not welcome. He put things out there about Kobe, and then went and coached Kobe, which is weird. That's weird. But let's keep going here.
I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for me.
Okay, hold up.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal. I don't know if that makes him a racist.
Well, that's your
Yeah.
way of putting it out, and I have my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for him afar.
Yeah, and look, that's why I wanted to have you on. But I go back, and Phil designed a play for Steve Kerr when Mike was there. And Mike didn't have a problem with that, did he?
I don't understand. You're not setting me up to answer the right question. What do you mean Phil set up a play for Steve Kerr? He didn't set that play for Steve Kerr. He set that play for Michael Jordan.
I thought in the huddle, Mike says, "I'm going to throw you the ball. You'll be open at the foul line." And Phil had nothing to do with that?
And you don't want to get this show started because this
Oh,
will take us a
shit.
long time. Do you know all those cameras that's sitting in that huddle who they was working for?
The NBA.
So you know who Michael was speaking to when he said that, right? that was planned. That was speaking to the camera. That wasn't speaking out of what we're going to have to do, what the play is going to be. That was speaking to the camera. Had John Stockton not came down, trust me. But that was building his own documentary because he knew he was controlling the cameras. You understand English?
Yeah.
Okay. So all those cameras that was working were working basically for Michael Jordan, not for the Chicago Bulls.
But
They were building the Come Fly With Me, the Air Jordan videos. That's what it was. That was not naturally spoken.
Okay. All right.
That was rehearsed.
Okay.
Okay. Damn. Did he talk some more about this? Is there more? No, I don't see no other videos here. No. Oh. Let's go to his page real quick. I'm just answering the questions y'all asking me. Y'all wanted the headlines. You got them. Dig deeper to find out why I actually said what I said instead of framing your questions to get clicks. It's all love. Does he respond to anybody in this mug? How long has this been out? Oh, new release. There's a little bit of context added. A little bit of context added there. A book. If you thought the 90s Bulls could beat the Lawrence Lakers, how much points reported? Why such a close game? Well, most of us are almost. Okay, I hear you. Okay, that's funny. Okay, so, all right. Trying to kind of formulate my thoughts here. Honestly, there are a couple things that I take away from this entire Scottie Pippen situation. Well, at least from what we saw here, 4.5 minutes of context. Being somebody who grew up in the 90s, who witnessed the Chicago Bulls dynasty from the beginning. And and just getting to know the Michael, just getting to see the lore play out, everything in the lore of that dynasty, of Michael Jordan's career, of all the players who were part of that dynasty, and how their careers moved on, moving forward. There were times when people didn't really know, or people doubted that there was a cohesive relationship between Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen as well. And I mean, look, in hearing everything that he's saying here in this video, or hearing most of what he said in this video, this 4.5 minute video, I can't agree with fucking I cannot agree with what he's saying here. I can't agree with him saying that Phil is a racist. But I can't necessarily say that he's lying, because he did say, I think it's right here.
Well, it feels like he's disloyal.
With him. I was in practice my way. I was in practice my way. I was in the locker room with him. I was in practices with him. You're looking for him afar.
I think that that's an important point. When he says that I was in practices with him, I was in the games with him, you're looking at it from the outside. That is something that you as an athlete, knowing exactly what that means, and most people will probably understand what that means as well. That is saying that he has a lot more that he has heard and seen from this coach to validate or confirm what he is saying at this point, which, again, he's got a new book out, has to promote that book. Clearly, he got a new whatever. I think that's a rum or a whiskey or something. He got to promote his products. So I can definitely understand. I can definitely understand where there is incentive for him to make a headline, to get some attention for the betterment of sales of both his book and his alcohol. But I wouldn't put a finger down and say that Scottie Pippen is lying here, simply because if he is lying, if he is truly lying, that's just way too, that would send him to a level of obscurity amongst the public that, he hadn't seen in a while. I mean, everybody knows who Scottie Pippen is for the most part. And part of the only real reason for his relevance is because of who he played with, because of what he was a part of. I don't think that anybody is going to sit here and tell themselves that Scottie Pippen's years without Michael Jordan were years where he was leading teams into the finals or into or two championships themselves. I believe that when Michael Jordan was gone, when he was out of the league that one year, the Bulls got knocked out in the first round. So Scottie, I respect Scottie Pippen. I really do. I think he's obviously a Hall of Famer, and I think that there was a world, there was a life where he could have been an even bigger player than he was with Jordan when he was apart from him. But I mean, hell, you the one who went to the Trailblazers, bruh. That was on you. But you know what? This there's a little bit of, I feel like there's a little bit of resentment in his voice. being as he was, more often than not seen as just the sidekick to Jordan, and maybe their relationship with Phil Jackson wasn't great, but I think that in order for me to actually believe that Phil Jackson is racist, I would need him to speak more directly on the on the things that he has heard or seen that would definitely strengthen what he's saying. Because right now, I mean, he's dropping hints, but he's not really giving us the goods, and there's no receipts that are currently available. So I can't really rock with this as a legitimate thing. So Scottie Pippen, good luck, brother. I really hope that your book does well. I hope your liquor sells well. And I hope that the next Bulls reunion you get invited to, because it looks to me, at least partially, that you are, you throwing crumbs out there and you're making allegations and you actually saying in your own mind that, yes, Phil Jackson is racist. But until you give me and you give the public more to work with than just saying, yes, he is, and saying that you were in the locker room, you were in the games, you were, in the practices, until you go deeper than that, I can't ride with this. I cannot, because there's too much unknown to really give me any kind of any level of data that's really going to be able to inform my decision more than it is right now. So without having that information at hand, I can't rock with that assessment. And I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying you need to give us more information to prove without a shadow of a doubt what you're saying is true. But you can best believe that in the coming days there will be a response to that coming from somebody. Might be Jordan, might be Phil. We don't know. He's saying everything that they did there was an act. He's saying that it was all for the cameras. That I can believe. That I can believe, because if you've seen Last Dance, you know Michael Jordan, he loved them cameras. He loved that attention. But Michael Jordan is also an asshole. He's also a degenerate asshole to a certain extent. What he did to Kwame Brown, perfect example. And I'm not going to. I don't want to like get into things that I don't necessarily know about wholly in regards to his how he supports communities around the country. But I know a lot of motherfuckers have died over Jordans. I know that the way that those Jordans are released each and every time he drops them, they're released in a way to create so much fervor for him that people will literally kill each other for him. And I think that is bullshit, and I think that he is a scumbag for that, because he has control over that. He has control over how many shoes he releases and how quickly he can get the stock back up. Hey, are they running it through sweatshops to get them made? You damn right they are. Do I care? Not that much, because there's no way to make those many shoes without a mass force of people making the shoes at one time. Now, I am 100% empathetic to that very negative aspect of manufacturing, but that's not something that I have any control over or can change in any way outside of not buying the product. But then you got to be real with yourself. You gonna buy some Jordans if you like Jordans. So talk to them countries and have them pay the people to make those shoes much more. But they're still gonna be having long hours to make them. They're still gonna be working 7 days a week. 18 hours a day. That ain't gonna change. Just pay them more so they can actually have a life. So they can actually have some kind of livable wage. But there needs to be some receipts laid out on the table for Scottie Pippen if you really want to go this route and put your fellow teammates in a position that could potentially force them to have to say things that maybe they shouldn't be saying about what happened behind closed doors with their team. Now, if you want to do that, you have the clout to do that as Scottie Pippen. But do it. Don't tippy-tap around it. Don't tip-tap around it. Do it. Say it. Say it with your chest. Let the world know. And then we pick out the pieces after they, fall where they may. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, for this Lineman Life Live stream. Appreciate you guys very much for being in here. Again, remember that if you have not subscribed or if this is your first time in one of my live streams, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Observant Lineman, Uche Nwaneri. I am literally so happy that you guys came through here on Monday. It has been a good day. It's been a fun day. I hope that I was entertaining for you guys. And I am currently looking for somebody to argue with. So, if you are interested in coming on the live stream to talk with me about some of the stories and issues that I talk about on here, I'm looking to maybe do that once a week, to have somebody come on once a week, maybe a fan, maybe a member, could be a member. I got people I can hit up. I got other athletes I can hit up, but I actually want to speak more. I want to interact more with you guys. But I'm looking for somebody to argue with. So keep that in mind. Shoot me a message or put a comment down below if you're interested. I would say definitely a comment in the community section of my channel will probably be better to do that with. Because I do look at that pretty regularly. But yeah, definitely we'll see how that plays out as time goes. But again, I do appreciate you guys very much for being on here with me. I will be back on again likely Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm not quite ready to do it every day, all 5 days of the work week, but we will, for right now, be going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So definitely make sure you hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I do drop or when I am getting ready to go live on the next stream. But everyone out there, hope you all have a wonderful evening. I will talk to you all again on Wednesday. I am your Observant Lineman, Uche Nwaneri. And peace out. Peace. Oh, crap. Peace. See y'all.